Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Here to bring in part 8 of What If Military was in Cross Ange. Link down description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Speech to entire Soviet Union. Moscow, Soviet Union. Delegations from Free France, Spear Germany and British and exiles came to Moscow to help Soviet citizens who were still confused by what was happening, Konami and Naga also in there. Gaso. So this is how modern Moscow looks like. Jill. I don't know that this place is very good too. Jeremiah. Are you exited? Emma. Yeah, little bit. Foreign Minister Martin Musnug. Musnug. Yep, I hope we get a friendly welcome from the Russian people. General der Panzertruppe Wessel Freitag von Luringhoven. Luringhoven. Because we are liberals who promote peace and eliminate discrimination, we can rest easy because we are part of OFN. Gaso. I hope so, mate. Konami. Will they believe us? Jeremiah. They will definitely believe. Then Vasily Stalin came in wearing his military uniform with Marshal of the Soviet Union rank and wearing commissar cap. Probably like this. Vasily. Welcome to the Soviet Union, I hope you enjoy all the sights. Gaso. Nice to meet you, Mr. President. Naga. So you are the leader of this country. You look young. Vasily. Don't look at my age, I'm already in my 42. Don't know why I back to my young self. Marshal of the Soviet Union Dmitry Ustinov. Ustinov. So you two are the half-dragon that Comrade President said, right? Konami. Yes, both of me and Naga. Ustinov. Naga. Isn't that the Indonesian word for dragon? Naga. Forget about it, Mr. Ustinov. Vasily. Alright, without further ado, let's get to the main place. State Kremlin Palace, Congress Room. Now, Vasily was in the middle of the room where he would deliver his speech. And then Emma, who had used her mana to broadcast Vasily's speech, was successfully broadcast throughout the Soviet Union. This speech was also watched by the delegates. Vasily. My people, son and daughter of Soviet Union, you gathered here to find the answer. But the news that telling me that we not in our earth, but we have been transported to another world, a world with racism, a world with discrimination and persecution, the world that filled by fanatics that picked on innocent people simply for something that was beyond their control. Everyone was immediately shocked, astonished. What exactly did their president mean? Vasily. The world named as the world of Mana, where the people of this world could use a ability to use technology by interfering with the physical phenomenon, willpower, to move objects without touching them and to create an energy barrier that protects the user or other people and can also be used to trap someone. It is also possible that it possesses healing abilities. But these people called themselves true humans. The audience tried to listen, but some thought it was nonsense. Soviet politician 9 #. What did Comrade President say? Soviet politician 12 #. Most just make it up. Then Vasily knew that they were starting to say nonsense, he immediately spoke. Vasily. I'm bringing you defectors to the OFN and these guys will explain how mana itself works. Emma walked onto the stage, and then used her mana to move the flagpole to the center of the room without touching it. Everyone there was shocked and amazed at what they saw. Soviet politician 7 #. Impossible. Soviet politician 23 #. So this is what is called mana. Soviet politician 1 #. It's like magic power. Vasily. That was a little demonstration from the general of the Royal Army, Emma Bronson, who defected because she already knew the true nature of the people of this world. Emma returned to where the delegates were sitting. Vasily. That is the so-called light of mana, a magic power possessed by the people of this world. But their dependence on mana make them stop thinking for themselves. They turn into people who are lazy, unfair and inhumane beings. Leningrad. Everyone who was there saw the broadcast of Vasily's speech, and they were shocked that USSR had been summoned to this world. Vasily. Less than greater than. Then Mana's screen changes to showing the Normas being arrested by the authorities and some of their family members who tried to prevent their daughter from being taken by force being beaten too. Soviet people who were see this were shocked that those people dared to do that. Vasily. Less than greater than. All the Soviet people in Leningrad are chanted to get the Soviet Union to just go into the war. Vasily. Less than greater than. Back at State Kremlin Palace, Congress Room. Vasily. To clarify the situation, I will bring people from other worlds who are your enemies, but not us. Lady Konami. Time and place I welcome. Then Konami stood in front of the entire of the Congress Hall. Konami. People and soldiers of the USSR. My name is Konami, the representative of the people of Aura. As you can see right now, I am a half-dragon human. But do not fear, we are by your side in OFN. Soviet politician 22 hash. Just now world of Mana was described, now a half-dragon. Soviet politician 30 hash, but she's a real half-dragon, you know. Konami, me, and my friend, Naga, along with Mrs. Salamandane went to this world to investigate if something went wrong. So, when we passed the singularity opened by the people of Mana, we came to this world and saw a new nation brought in from another world. The two new continents that we recognize in our world, namely Asia and North and South America, have moved to this world, but they come from different timelines. People seem curious about what Mrs. Konami explained. Konami, I will explain about our race. We come from the true Earth, and the Earth you are currently on is a false Earth filled with false things. Our race is a race that has survived a war that has wiped out all of humanity, until a female scientist performs experiments on her and transforms her into a dragon. That person was named Aura, the first dragon created. Soviet politician 23 hash, excuse me. Actually, what war to destroy all mankind? Is there a thermonuclear war going on? Konami, in our world, before our race existed, there is a new natural resource called dracunium. Soviet politician 16 hash, raised his hand if you mind, what is dracunium? Konami, good question. Dracunium is a new natural resource discovered at the end of the 22nd century and is a strong and symmetrical particle. Supposedly this resource brought peace to the pre-dragon world, but dracunium was misused for war. Then the politicians and other officials were shocked that it seemed that the humans of the future would continue to be in conflict, even though those who live in 1962 what the future looks like. Konami, pollution, ethnic cleansing, poverty, all of these problems cannot be solved until the old humanity are extinct. Until some people get tired of this earth and wander around looking for a new land. Soviet CP official 7 hash, did they go to outer space? Konami, no, but trying to create a portal between dimensions that would allow them to discover a new land they would call their Earth. Everyone there couldn't believe that the rest of these people chose to go against the laws of time and space, but they still didn't understand why the humans in this world of dragons were destroyed. But they tried to listen first and let Konami speak. Konami, it was the remnant of humanity that made the choices that kept our race alive on the tainted earth caused by the Seventh World War. They were all shocked by what he was talking about. That means this dragon's home world, humans have already fought 7 times. Konami, this war ended with the strongest weapon ever created by humans, but wielded by the people of Mana. The name of the weapon is Ragna Mail. Ragna Mail is an absolute weapon built by a scientist named Embryo, capable of annihilating any force. Used to end war, the convergence space-time cannons are mounted on both shoulders. When used, the 7 Ragna Mail destroyed all of civilization on our pre-dragon world. The Dracunium Tower, which was similar to the Pillar of Dawn in this world, was destroyed but ended up exploding, and the explosion was as lethal as a nuclear weapon, no, like a hydrogen bomb, which was 10 times more deadly. They were shocked that that was the reason the human race in this world of dragons lived was destroyed and polluted by traces of dracunium. Konami, our race reconstructs our bodies to adapt to that environment. Starting from our entire ecological system through genetic modification. Aura was one of the first dragons. She was our race's great ancestor who transformed herself into a dragon. Our race accepted its sinful history and chose to live for purification and redemption with Aura. Then the screen changed to the world this dragon lives in, and everyone was amazed what they saw, that this genetic engineering succeeded in creating a real dragon. Konami, the men turned into giant dragons and devoted themselves to purifying the world. They ingest dracunium and change the stable crystals within their bodies. They saw a huge dragon eating something in the trees maybe. And even that is purple in color, they think that the purple one is dracunium. Konami, women, at times, reinvent themselves to cooperate with men. And when the time comes, our race gives birth and raises the children of the newest generation of dragons. Thus, we embarked on the path of purification and restoration with Aura. Soviet CP official 23 hash, is the aura you mean still with you? Konami, no. She was taken away. Everyone was shocked including Vasily Stalin and other generals that standing in besides her. Konami, Aura was kidnapped by the one I told earlier, the creator of Ragna Mail, and also who discovered Dracunium and also destroyed the world before leaving it. His name is Embryo. He's the mastermind behind it all. Vasily, so this schmuck is the culprit. Ustinov, I think so, Comrade President. Batov, so that's the reason the dragons attacked this world, right? Konami, you are right, Mr. Batov. To the whole audience, do you know where the light of mana comes from and where does that power come from? Soviet politician 7 hash, wait a minute, could it be? Soviet CP official 13 hash, raises hand, does the light of mana power come from? Aura. Konami, yes, that's true. The entire Congress and Soviet people elsewhere were shocked by this fact. Konami, what sustains everything in the utopia of this world is the aura that flows the energy of Dracunium. But that energy will one day run out, so it must be recharged. I know all these facts from Mrs. Salamandine, Aura's descendant. Soviet CP official 23 hash, how dare this schmuck called Embryo kidnap Aura just to exploit the power of the dragon that had just healed the old world. Soviet politician 23 hash, could it be, he created this accursed world? Soviet politician 32 hash, he is a heinous criminal who must be punished. Konami, listen to me first, I'll tell you how false this world is. I ask you this, in order to make Aura's power last, what are you going to do? Soviet CP official 3 hash, usually we will find out what the source is. Soviet military advisor 12 hash, or we're trying to double his power, wait a minute, that's pretty stupid idea. Soviet CP official 1 hash, maybe you should hunt dragons that have Dracunium crystals in their hearts. Konami, correct. Slaying dragons, extracting crystallized Dracunium, and supplying it to the aura is necessary. Do you know why Norma exists in this world? Ustinov, was it, to slay the dragons. But without them knowing which side of the mana people took the male dragon. Konami, that's right, Norma existed because they couldn't be hypnotized by the dragon's roar that could hypnotize the people of mana, so it was Norma who was assigned to kill our race. So it's clear, why are the Normas exiled from Mana society? Because they are instead used as shields to maintain the peace of this world, and at the same time they are the martyrs. Soviet CP official 22 hash, how dare they use child soldiers to maintain their fake peace? Konami, that is the battle of the norms. It's the truth that the Normas do with their lives at stake. Our citizens are being killed, sobs, in order to defend this world's energy. Sobs, their hearts were ripped apart, and the crystallized Dracunium was released, sobs, so that's what they did. But for the Soviet side, these Normas didn't know anything at first. But for Jill, after she learned that fact, she felt guilty because they didn't know anything about it. Konami, this is what we mean by false earth, false people and false battles. Soviet politician 14 hash, we apologize and feel sorry for the death of your race who fought to save Aura, but you know, these Norma don't know anything. Konami, they already know the truth, so there's no need to worry. Soviet military member 6 hash, we understand what happened so far, so we can only listen and know all these facts. Konami, I hope you all understand everything I explain. Jill, or Electra, you may speak on behalf of Isa. Konami stepped back and was accompanied by several people to sit back into the delegation seats. Then Jill, who was in the middle of the room, started her talk by getting straight to the main point. Jill, for this world, there are our world's people who exist in this world too, but those who don't have mana end up the same as the Norma. Until finally they fought against this world, but all the struggles they do is resulting in good results. They captured one of the Ragna male with the name of Vilkis. Due to a shortage of members, those who refused in the embryo experiment, who called themselves ancient humans, or humans who lived during the pre-mana world. Ancient humans allying themselves with the Norma and Launcha Libertas, a name for the rebellion we did a many years ago. But Jill instead returned to remembering what happened in the past, where her ignorance made her closest friends die and Libertas failed to do so. Jill, at that time, I made a big mistake because I got carried away by Embryo's talk and caused my comrades to die, and I still keep that memory to this day. The Soviets assumed that Jill was experiencing PTSD about her past failure to carry out Libertas properly and caused those closest to her to die. Everyone throughout the Soviet Union felt that the world was too cruel and that it had to be cleansed of the people who had made the Normas suffer. Jill, that doesn't mean liberty is over. When I thought it was all gone, hope was still on our side, then came nations from other worlds who were brought in, they were OFN and GEACPS. They are the ones who have defeated 3 nations out of 6 nations in this world. Even the delegates felt that Jill was starting to have hope. Jill, Velda, Marmaria, and my own homeland, Gallia, they have conquered. I was once a princess of the Gallic Empire, but because I was known as Norma, I was exiled to Arsenal, and I was the rider of Vilcus at the time of Libertas, but I lost my royal ring in my right hand, so I don't have access to control Vilcus. Can Vilcus be controlled? The answer is not certain, only a member of the kingdom who has a royal ring can control Vilcus Rognamail. As the leader of the ISA, or independent state of Arsenal, do you hear the Normas screaming for help to be freed from all their misery? Do you hear them? Then after that, there was silence and then Jill resumed. Jill, if you hear our voices, free our suffering sisters, free them. And drop the hammer of justice on those rotten Mana people. I hope you understand. That's all I can say, that's all. Jill returned to the delegation chair and then Vasily would continue his speech. Vasily, that's the explanation of the 2 races who both want to live in peace but are hindered by something that blocks freedom. My comrades, the time has come to unite. The blame for those hindered there in our action to free this world lies entirely with the present Mana society. I know too well how the government and party who supported me to join this war must feel. They are not true humans, but a demi-human. A true monster. But because our country is a democracy, which I had declared that ideological expansionism beyond the world cannot be allowed. Then Vasily clenched his right hand into a fist. Vasily, for the motherland's safety, I, Vasily Stalin, has declared great liberation war to bring those bigots to the place under our freedom's jackboot. This is an important thing after I take over this country and end my father dictatorial regime. But I shall accept my fate. Because we have been called to lit a fires of liberation to this world. I promise to bring USSR into our old glory, and Bukharin's mistake is a mistake that we must take and is a lesson for our next generation, and make this country more powerful with my democratic rule. In the name of the Communist Party of Soviet Union, let us burn this world with fires of liberation and let those Norma peoples get greeted well in our motherland. Everyone is excited to be impatient in fighting this world and bringing freedom to all true mankind and destroying all the false humanity. Vasily, my comrades in the Army, Air Force and Navy have agreed to mobilize our troops immediately. I strongly beseech the West to make Soviet Union become a member of OFN. And fight the false humanity with us and the GEACPS. Comrades, I am quoting the words of our nemesis whose words I feel have something to do with this. Those who want to live, let them fight, and those who do not want to fight in this world of eternal struggle do not deserve to live. The delegates are no strangers to the quote, except for Konami, Naga, Emma and Jill. Vasily, that means if those rotten Mana society try to run from us, let us force them to fight us. And I will show them a might of the Soviet Union. Let us bring back stronger motherland. Valiant army of peoples and warriors of the motherland. We are the single sword forged in the fires of liberation. Stand and take up your weapons. Cowardice and hesitation are treason. The fate of the motherland rests in our hands. Destroy those bigots in the name of liberation, and fight till your last breath. For the motherland, Ura! All people, hurrah! Everyone cheered and then stood up and was proud that they could start a war for what was right. Luringhoven, the Red Bear has awoken and now the world will see its true power. Musnug, the power of the Russian people will never be extinguished. Gasso, I'm agree with you, mate. Vasily slowly began to leave and before that he spoke with Marshal Batov. Vasily, immediately mobilize troops, we attack one of the countries in this world. Batov, yes, comrade president. And now, the Soviet Union was completely determined to fight against the people of Mana who were about to meet their downfall. Meanwhile at virtual meeting room, the rest of the leaders of the countries of the Mana world saw this speech, and it was clear that this made them worry. With the entry of the Soviet Union as the third power's warring power they would all be destroyed. King of Rosenblum, how about this? This new country will soon finish us off. General Secretary of Marmaria, we're finished. With the Soviet Union in the war, we're doomed. King of Velda, where is Emperor Jirai at the moment? I hope he knows about this. The problem is that only Enderant, Rosenblum and Mitsurugi still survive. Where is the president of Enderant? Emperor Lowenhers, if I'm not mistaken, he is strengthening his country's defense where he spends his country's money on the military and strengthening his country. General Secretary of Marmaria, this is bad, we experiences many crises now. If this keeps happening, then we will be finished. King of Velda, just pray, that, all this craziness will end. They only stared at the two empty chairs that were not occupied by President of Enderant and Emperor Jirai. Now with a state that is about to dilapidate and collapse, it is certain that they will meet their downfall. But when, and what day they going to collapse? Only the Almighty knows. Soviet War Plan, a ultimatum and Soviet officially joined the OFN. Moscow Military District, War Room. All the marshals, generals and officers of the Soviet Union were gathered in Vasily Stalin. They planned to invade the empire of Mitsurugi. Marshal of Soviet Union Konstantin Rokossovsky. Rokossovsky, may I repeat it again, the 40th Army will deliver from the landing ships and amphibious vehicles. To ensure the safety of our forces, maybe we should. Vasily, the 40th Army will not being beaten when get landed on their beach. The Soviet Navy Northern Fleet and Black Sea Fleet will anticipated in this invasion. Both of the Northern Fleet and Black Sea Fleet will conduct artillery support and bombarded the coastline of Mitsurugi. Rokossovsky, I agreed, we received goods from the US in the form of a device called Groundbridge that is able to create portals that can move our troops to other places quickly. We've been sent Spetsnaz forces to the around city of the Mitsurugi east coast to evacuate many Norma and their loyal relatives. Vasily, alright. 40th Army will supported by 2nd and 17th Armored Battalion, and 9th and 14th Tank Brigade. After they make a landfall, bring on the 307th Artillery Brigade on the shorelines and bomb their city to ashes. Rokossovsky, additionally, launch the 97th and 77th Helicopter Squadrons to support our forces in the front line. Send Verona and Kosmar Squadron from aircraft carrier Ulanovska and Penza to start bombing deeper into the Mitsurugi territory. Colonel General Ivan Chernyakhovsky. Chernyakhovsky, this military operation was huge, even bigger than we did in West Russian War. Rokossovsky, but with this, we can destroy them with artillery shells, rockets, missiles and many more. I hope they destroyed fast. Chernyakhovsky, so who will lead us in the invasion? Vasily, in main command, I will be in charge, but in the field, I will hand over field command to Marshal Akromiv. Marshal of Soviet Union Sergei Akromiv. Akromiv, I will not disappoint you in motherland, comrade president. I will march our army to their city and kill many of them. Vasily, excellent. National focus tree unlocked, storm their beaches. Rokossovsky, all right, now that our troops have landed on their shores, what can we do next? Vasily, from the information I got, every nation in this world doesn't have fighter planes, only has mana-powered VTOL. It gives us an opportunity to enter their airspace deeper and deeper, reaching their capital if possible. Rokossovsky, oh yes, I just found out their air superiority is pretty bad, and their VTOL planes aren't specifically made for combat but transportation. That means we can do deeper attacks with our helicopters. Vasily, maybe there will be more, Novikov. Whatever we have on the Air Force. Maybe bombers. Chief Marshal of Aviation Alexander Novikov. Novikov, more, comrade president. We have anything. Vasily, anything. Novikov, yeah, you know. Fighters, interceptors, strategic bombers, tactical bomber, even we have stealth aircraft. Vasily, do you all thinking what I'm thinking? Akromiv, what is that? Rokossovsky, I don't understand. Chernyakhovsky, I know something, but what? Novikov, oh, excuse me, I have to go to the toilet. Then Novikov came out of the room and headed to the toilet, then one of the generals answered Vasily's question. Army General Artyom Sergeyev. Sergeyev, I think he want to conquer their skies so he can spread terror from above and those idiots will scrambled like a rats, that will be a easy hunting season for all of us. Vasily, that's right, comrade general. National focus tree unlocked. secure air superiority in Misurugi, and conquer their skies. Vasily, Novikov, I had a talk with you, after this. Chernyakhovsky, we have news. Spetsnaz have carried out a large-scale evacuation of Norma and relatives still loyal to them. Vasily, so, what else do we get from the field before we go on the attack? Lieutenant Colonel Nikolai Nassin, things on the ground are fine, Comrade President, but one of the Spetsnaz teams found a girl being forcibly taken away by the local police, and we assume that girl is a Norma. Vasily, damn those abominations, what's wrong with these people being different from them? What's wrong if you don't have mana? Nassin, that's a tough question to answer now. But as a political officer, I've never seen anything like this. Even though the information is that the Misurugi people are a peace-loving people, why are they like this? Vasily, I don't know, sometimes people cannot change because they still insist that the deed is still true. Nassin, despite everything that was happening, the great war that happened in this world, no matter how many US and Japan killed many of those humans, but those humans had not changed one bit. Even now, at the literal end of the world by a war raging at the horizon, those mana wielders still considered themselves superior to the Norma and New Norma, a new calling for us because we can destroy light mana without touching it alias with an intermediary. Despite the loss of their power to fight, they still clung to their bigotry and were even now not prepared to let go of their prejudice. Vasily, yes, how hard do we tell them that their actions were wrong? They don't want to admit it, really, those people can't deserve to live in this world full of struggles. By the way, what was the state of this world right now after Velda, Marmaria and Gallia had fallen? Nassin, the effects of the war are starting to be felt, one of which is the food crisis. Velda or its alternative version from India is believed to have been the first major grain producer, followed by the Empire of Misurugi. But with Japan taking control of Velda, grain stocks reduced by 80%, Misurugi was forced to supply his wheat to the remaining surviving countries, Enderant and Rosenblum. But because they needed wheat as well, Misurugi reduced their grain exports, causing the two countries to not have an equal amount of grain. Rokossovsky, coupled with the refugees from the three fallen countries who are now living in refugee-only settlements, but with so many refugees, the governments of the remaining countries can't give them many proper facilities. Sergeyev, they must have been overwhelmed with their own troubles. Batov, so, if we put all the attack ideas together, why don't we just be clear about it? Then Batov stood up and then explained how the plan was. Batov, 40th Red Army, 17th and 2nd Armored Battalion, 9th and 14th Tank Brigade will make a landfall in the Misurugi East Coast. Before that, the Soviet Northern Fleet and Black Sea Fleet will bombard the area with cannons and missiles. Verona and Kosmar's squadron will strike enemy deeper into their territory. Then the ground forces marches out from the landing ships and amphibious vehicles and attack the enemy immediately. Rokossovsky, I agree with this explanation. Batov, next, 34th Tank Guards Division that consist of T-62B and T-80U will attack Thai enemy on a blitzkrieg attack. We strike them hard so that we can make them cannot strike us first. We will use the difference blitzkrieg tactics to destroy the enemy position. National focus tree unlocked. Blitzkrieg of our own. Vasily, good, or we take a lesson from Barbarossa. Nassin, yes, Comrade President, since Operation Barbarossa that defeated us at the beginning but we were able to rise again because your father got rid of Bukharin. The lesson we can learn from Barbarossa is that we can use the tactics of the Germans that we find useful for our invasion. National focus tree unlocked. Lesson from Barbarossa. Vasily, our blitzkrieg attack will take them by surprise, with them unprepared, then we can attack them with our surprise attack. Batov, then the 77th Helicopter Squadron will storm the city near the east coast. The attack will be massive, so the 307th Artillery Brigade will take a job to clear out the way for our forces. Our artillery will raise their towns so they can't hide from us, so we avoid getting ambushed. Vasily, good, with this, they would be even more helpless with their internal problems of not preparing themselves for battle. Before I will hasten the attack, I will give them an ultimatum. If they refuse, I will immediately bomb them. If they want, then the bombing will not take place. This Novikov is taking too long. Later when I give an ultimatum to those fanatics, I will talk to him. Then Novikov came back and sat down again. Novikov. Alright, what did I miss? Vasily. A lot. But it's okay, you know the plan. Long story short, State Kremlin Palace, Congress Room, Moscow, Soviet Union. This time Vasily delivered an ultimatum with another Mana person that OFN had, meaning someone other than Emma, meaning that person was one of the pro-Norma people. Now the ultimatum was broadcast live to Misurugi. Vasily, Vita Verma, Kogdanasha Dolzna Obedenitsa, Sitobi Priadalit Sereznu Opasnost, Misurugian C. Net, At Paluludi Snova Soversili Newsno Prestupleni. Policisko upravleni Misurugi I pravleni norma snova soversat prestupleni protiv seliveknosti. Mana screen subtitle. At a time when the nation must unite to overcome grave danger. The Misurugians people, no, those demi-human had doing heinous crime again. The Misurugi Police Department and Norma Management broad doing a crime against humanity again. Akaruga, Empire of Misurugi. Vasily. Less than na atot raz zertvami stali emeladenek I malanka devika. Oni dolzny zit murno I skasilovo, ate, kato adigo ne priemlit, srzu zestoko s nimi obhodatsa. A obvinau mirovi policiski upravlenia I nmv otsutsvi kuvistva guministi greater than. Subtitle. This time, the victims were baby and little girl. They should live peacefully and happily, but those who don't accept it, immediately treat them harshly. I accuse the world's police departments and the NMB have no sense of humanity. The Misurugi police officers who saw this immediately became angry because they were accused of crimes against humanity. Misurugi police officer 6 #, where did evil come from? You're the one who started first, you knew normas. Misurugi noble 7 #, it just doesn't make any sense, it's just a bluff. Vasily. Less than oni zabatatsa tolko o svoe roskosnoj zizni I hotat, sitobi my s normoj bili brozini viad. Oni predatili selivichestva. Net, oni vragi visigo selivichestva, podvrgazi opasnosti vase narid. Greater than. Subtitle. They care only their lavish life and are willing the normas and us get thrown to hell. They are the traitors of humanity. No, they are the enemy of all humanity, endangering the entire nation. Ho-Oh Institute student F 6 #, you all the one who humanity's enemy. Vasily. Less than my zaprosili pomos u pravitelstva oponi iofn, I my budem rabitat vmest s adimi vonimi, sitobi uniktazit at palulude. Greater than. Subtitle. We have requested aid from Japan government and the OFN, and we will work together these militaries to outdown those demi-human. Vasily. Less than sitobi napugad a pozlil eskadrilu bombardarovsikov uniktazit garota Misurugi na vostoknam poberis. A vruko vam ultimatum naradu Misurugi, rebata. Esli hotite estatsa, to bomit ne budum, esli otkazits, ne vanite mina, esli bombeska budit. Nasamam deli, tot, kato prikazal bomit, bile a. Greater than. Subtitle. In order to terrify them, I have sent a squadron of bombers to destroy the eastern coastal cities of Misurugi. I hand you an ultimatum to the people of Misurugi, you guys. If you want to surrender, then we won't start bombing. If you refuse, don't blame me if the bombing will occur. In fact, the one who ordered the bombing was me. Then Mana's screen disappeared, but from Misurugi people's reactions, they didn't care about the threat, because they thought that the Soviet side was exaggerating. Meanwhile at State Kremlin Palace. Now, Vasily and his adjutant, Lieutenant Colonel Nassim, were in the corridor about the bombers that have been sent. Vasily. Who did it? Who sent the bombers without my permission? Nassim. Marshal Voroshilov, Colonel Rogovsky. Unhappy old communists. Vasily. Bastards. Tell them to cancel the bombing without my approval. Nassim. How? Vasily. You're the political commissar, you can strip a marshal command if you have a officer rank. Their carelessness would tell the OFN I didn't have control. These days, better to appear guilty than impotent. Nassim. Alright, I doing it. Vasily. Wait, I have a talk with Novikov, better go now. Nassim. Another news have coming. We. Vasily. I know, it was a good news. I know that. Tell the others. Run. In one of the office inside the State Kremlin Palace. Long story short, Vasily was with Marshal Novikov. Now they will talk about something. Novikov. I hear you want to talk, what do you want to say, Comrade President? Vasily, look, from one of Mana's pro-Norma people, these Mitsurugi people refuse to admit to their crimes. So listen to me carefully, no medicine, no advice can overcome their bigotry. Novikov, so what can I do? Vasily had no choice, even though the Norma and their loyal relatives had been evacuated, there were still people inside. After a moment of silence, he said, Vasily, start bombing, bomb their city, and everyone in it. Novikov was taken aback by that statement, though reluctant to do so, but what else could it be? Novikov, we will be ready to perform the task. Vasily took the phone and called Nassim. Vasily, Nassim, forget my earlier order, let the bombers fly towards their targets. Meanwhile at ISA, control room. Jill, who had returned to Arsenal, saw a piece of news in her hand. Jill, now the three giants of the world have united. Now there is only one assignment left. Vilkis, you will fly again. The beginning, Series C, Tupolev Tu-95 OFN reporting name, Bear. The Tu-95 bomber moved towards Mitsurugi airspace carrying a load of thermobaric bombs, now the Soviet invasion will start from now on. Rom-1, less than greater than. Then the bombers opened the bomber hatches, they were ready to bomb the towns around the east coast. Nakazawa, Empire of Mitsurugi. It's a beautiful city with lots of people doing their decent activities. Mana screens are everywhere and some people are working as usual, employees carried their luggage unhandled, cars powered by Mana were moving around. Ho-Oh Institute student M2 #, what are you doing after school? Ho-Oh Institute student M7 #, what is it? I forgot again, he. Ho-Oh Institute student F9 #, did you do your homework yesterday? Ho-Oh Institute student F14 #, I already do my homework. Lots of people and children around walking around like a normal day, but that's about to change. Mitsurugi people 7 #, what is that? Mitsurugi people 2 #, I do not know. Then the Tu-95 started bombing. Then the bomb fell to the ground, causing great panic, everyone ran to save themselves, and also tried to protect them with light of mana, but the bomb still exploded and killed them. Then the screen went black and someone spoke as if she was narrating the script. Once upon a time, this world was very peaceful, peaceful and prosperous. All thanks to an advantage that has been given to mankind, an advantage that brought the world into the brightest future. Told many years ago, world of Mana, where the world's people live in eternal peace. The human race has reached the end of its evolution. The ability to use technology through Mana generates heat and light, which makes it possible to share information with the majority of humans by accessing the integrated system. As a result, people of the world of Mana deepen their mutual understanding of one another by leading each other to overcome problems such as war and discrimination. A utopia for civilization was built off of this power, causing inequality and poverty to not exist. But the screen turns black again. However, there are individuals who cannot use Mana. They are called Norma, the name given to those who are born without the ability to use the light of Mana. They cannot use Mana and will destroy anything that are made out of Mana just by making physical contact with it. The screen shows several girls being taken by police officers by force or not. Some of their relatives who are still loyal can't do anything, because they will become victims of police officers. While the people who saw this looked on with looks of disgust and innocence. Considered to be human degenerates, as they labeled, instinctively violent and antisocial monsters, Norma are able to break through the light of Mana, and because of this they are feared as a dangerous presence that Norma could destroy the social system. Normas seem to only be females for some reason, yet the reason why hasn't been elucidated at all. Due in part because they can't accept Mana, they have to be constrained in childhood and isolated from society as soon as they are discovered. After that, the narrator spoke again. They are powerless, without a protector, the Norma race exiled from their families and society. But all that changed, when they came. Then the screen showed 2 continents where there is another continent under this continent and the narrator spoke again. A nation that is in a 3rd continent and a 4th continent which then, they call it the continent of North and South America, and the continent of Asia. Led by 2 superpower in each continent, the United States of America and the Empire of Japan. Then the US and Japanese flags flew. Each of them is the founder of an organization called the Organization of Free Nations and Great East Asia County Prosperity Sphere. Each of them has a powerful army, but it has one characteristic: its inhabitants and leaders do not have such a thing as light of mana. Then the screen shows the war raging with US and Japanese troops against the nations of the world of mana. Despite this, they refer to themselves as the New Norma, which they say is the next evolution of the Norma who can destroy light mana without touching it, or short term is to be able to go through an intermediary. It can be seen that the US troops fired at the Marmaria troops who used mana as a shield, but the bullets held by the US soldiers penetrated the mana shield like glass. It didn't take long for them to wage a war of liberation against the world of mana for the sake of the Norma. During the war, 3 countries fell in just 2 months. Velda, Marmaria and Gallia were the first 3 countries to fall to the OFN and GEACPS sides. It shows that the Velda area is occupied by the Japanese, while Gallia and Marmaria are occupied by the US. During the war with Gallia, US dropped 2 so-called nuclear missiles into the city of Nanals and Chalukan, making a huge mushrooms explosion and killed over 3 million people. The OFN never regret that number and tell that the price that the humans paid for the Norma that had we treat badly. Then the screen changes to show that a new plane has been summoned. As things turned sour, a new nation, called the Soviet Union, arrived, and after they learned of our true nature, the Soviet Union declared war on the world of mana. The Soviet people branded us as demi-humans, and a threat to the real humanity that endangering the world and the nations. Without wasting time, the Soviet Union became a member of the OFN. But the screen has shown how things changed drastically during the Great War. Due to the influence of the Great War, which had a very destructive impact. Environmental destruction, drastic change of climate, downfall of countries, mass refugees, food crisis, humanity was thrown into a war with unknown forces that put our survival as a race on the line. Then the screen has shown Soviet troops invading the Missouri mainland. This was compounded by the sudden invasion launched by the Soviet Union. Before the attack, their bombers bombed 13 cities in 13 bomber waves. The Soviet Union annihilated the entire Missouri area in a matter of hours and took over 10 important cities on Missouri's east coast. The military was late in responding to the attack, and because of this sudden attack plus the terror bombing, 13 million lives had to be lost. Then the map of Missouri country is shown and Soviet troops take over some areas. Not long ago, the Japanese joined the war and invaded Missouri on the west coast. With repeated attacks, the military there was unable to defend the towns on the coast and retreated to the hills. Then the screen is shown Soviet and Japanese troops in each occupying the city and treating the Mana people the way these Mana people did to Norma. Back to present time, December 31, 3202, Shikobutsu, Empire of Missouri. Soviet troops have now entered the combat area in Shikobutsu. They brought a full army of infantry, tanks, IFVs, APCs, combat cars and others. Soviet troop trucks rolled through the dilapidated streets. Ural 375. The Soviet troops also brought their heavy weaponry. It was seen that they carried a lot of heavy battle tanks. The tanks they brought were only 2 types at the start of the invasion, but they added one more type of tank. T-80U, T-72A, T-62B. The Soviet troops were running towards the position of Missouri's troops who were currently on guard. Soviet Soldier 6-. Our comrades have begun the attack. Soviet Soldier 9-. Yes, comrade captain. Soviet Soldier 13-. I repeat. The 49th Rocket Regiment. Fire the rockets artillery to the coordinates that I've been marked. We need suppressive fire to the enemy. Then one soldier fell silent as he looked at the city which was barricaded with cars and barbed wire. And the female narrator spoke again. It's already December 30th, already 7 days since the start of the sudden Soviet invasion. Missouri's troops who are guarding the areas they can still guard must withstand the attack from the barbaric Soviet soldiers. The Missouri troops armed with semi-automatic rifles with bayonets and Chris Vector-like submachine gun could not do much and shot the Soviet soldiers who surrounded them one by one. This one, and this one. Missouri Soldier 6-. Get out of our country, damn it. Missouri Soldier 13-. Shit. There are too many of them. Missouri Soldier 16-. Hang in there. We can do this. Shoot his rifles. Then one of the tanks drove fast and then hit the barricade, making the Mitsurugi troops flee topsy-turvy. After the barricade was broken, the Soviet troops with AK-74 rifles complete with bayonet charged to the Mitsurugi forces. Mitsurugi Soldier 22 # I'm running out of ammunition. Mitsurugi Volunteer Soldier F-29 # if we fall back any further get stabbed by Soviet AK-74's bayonet and get shoot. All the troops ran in panic, they were afraid of being killed by the Soviet troops who they thought were scarier than Norma. Mitsurugi Soldier 23 # where the hell is the reinforcements? Mitsurugi Volunteer Soldier M17 # what's happening to the reinforcements? Mitsurugi Soldier 27 # I don't know. Mitsurugi Soldier 33 # Captain. We have been abandoned. Save ourselves now. You can see the fear in their eyes about the real war that has haunted them, and their mentality is now shrinking and goes breakdown. Mitsurugi Soldier 23 # no. Save me. Run away. Mitsurugi Volunteer Soldier M25 # I will kill these devils. Shoot his rifle. Mitsurugi Soldier 29 # I won't let you. Shot his submachine gun. Shout after screams sounded throughout the city, because all the city barricades had been broken down. Mitsurugi Soldier 7 # bring it on. Arg. Get shoot by Soviet soldier. A Mitsurugi major saw this madness, and it was a shock to him to find his troops at a disadvantage. How terrible it was for him to see his men being slaughtered so heinously. Mitsurugi Soldier 33 # Major. We need get out from here. We've been overwhelmed. We cannot make a stand. But the major stood still and was silent, seeing the state of his troops who were killed horribly. He finally knew, this was a real picture of war. So far, Mitsurugi has never been involved in any war because this problem can be overcome because of the light of mana, but due to the arrival of a nation that disliked them blocking the path of freedom for Norma, as a result many of their people had to become victims of the ferocity of their new enemy. Mitsurugi Major. Is this war? Then several Mitsurugi troop APCs came to evacuate and several Mitsurugi tanks rolled from the city. Mitsurugi APC. Mitsurugi Hover Tank. However, the Mitsurugi Hover Tank was no match for the Soviet tank's 125mm gun. One of the T-80U fired at one of the Mitsurugi Hover Tanks and then made a hole that penetrated into the tank, and then the hover tank exploded. Mitsurugi Hover Tank Crew 6 # damn it. They can strike back. Some of Mitsurugi's hover tanks fired back at the Soviet tank troops, but because in front of them was a Soviet tank with another variant, which had reactive armor, the shells was bounced off from the T-80U's turret. Mitsurugi Hover Tank Crew 9 # impossible. None of our shells penetrate their tanks. In the back front, Soviet troops brought in rocket artillery to level the entire city with spam of rockets. Soviet Commissar, bring back the troops that are in the city. We'll flatten those abominations with our rockets. Soviet Soldier 8 # yes. Comrade Commissar. Then, a BM-21 Grad was arrived to finish the Mitsurugi forces. Then came again from the 307th Artillery Brigade, Soviet self-propelled artillery, 2S-19 MSTAS has arrived to support the rockets artillery. 2S-19 MSTAS. Soviet Soldier 7 # alright. Our grads had come. Comrade Lieutenant Colonel, call back the forces. Soviet Soldier 9 # this is Lieutenant Colonel Polovsky. To all forces, retreat now. The artillery will take care the rest. Evacuate now. I repeat, the artillery will take care the rest. Evacuate now. Back at the city, Soviet troops who heard the order began to withdraw from the city of Shikobutsu. Their heavy weaponry withdrew from the city. Mitsurugi's troops thought they had been saved, seeing that the Soviet troops were retreating so suddenly. Mitsurugi Volunteer Soldier F-27 # it's over. We won. Mitsurugi Soldier 35 # damn those Reds. They backed down because they're cowards But the major felt that something was wrong. The sudden retreat of the Soviet troops must be something big coming. Back at the backline, all the artillery had aimed at the town of Shikobutsu, which would now be destroyed and razed to the ground. Now the Soviet troops would literally raze them to the ground. Soviet Commissar, ready the artilleries. Soviet Soldier 28 # artillery had set to the coordinates. Soviet Commissar, all forces, ready to fire those abomination into the grounds. On this day, we will tear them into pieces. Give them no mercy to those wretched peoples. Fire the artilleries. All the artillery from self-propelled artillery and rocket artillery fired towards the half-damaged Shikobutsu town, and now they were about to raze it to the ground. Mitsurugi Soldier 7 #, Rune. Mitsurugi Volunteer Soldier M29 #, oh. Shit. Until the city that was initially damaged from the start, was finally leveled to the ground because of the successive explosions that destroyed one city. 17 minutes later. Minutes passed, Soviet troops checked the state of the city that had been destroyed. Their task was to capture the rest and shoot if anyone resisted. Until the voice of the narrator came back again. Those monsters are going to destroy our civilizations that had we made from zero. We can't afford to lose by any means. I wonder, when did we stop trying to count our death? People of this world questioning themselves, is this world really heading toward its ruin? Pictures of the war on the western and eastern fronts are shown, which are increasingly taking too many lives. I hear someone said that this world was going to end. When was it? There's only one person only say that make people more desperate. No one knows. No one knows. No one will know. And so, the main story of Cross Ange will begin here. And this is the end of part 8 of this What If. I hope you guys like it. Don't really leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel.